Welcome everyone. Tonight it's January 3rd and it's a new year. We've spent the last few weeks celebrating the holiday season, maybe celebrating the new year, traveling, going to different places, and all that has maybe taken a toll on your health. We're also coming at a unique point in the year when we've been dealing with colder and colder temperatures for months now, and pretty soon that's going to change. And instead of it getting darker, now it's getting lighter, and also it's going to start getting warmer pretty soon. And so tonight is a critical moment, not just for New Year's resolutions, but also to start thinking about the great shift that happens twice a year as in the summer and in the winter, when things sort of flip and switch around, and instead of getting darker, it gets lighter. Instead of getting colder, it's going to start getting warmer. So we're going to talk today. Today is going to be an introduction to how to deal with the change in seasons, and also just what's been happening in our personal lives over the last month with celebrating and now getting back to a normal routine and getting back to regular life. So let's talk about recovering from holiday celebrations and what's likely imbalanced. I want to share with everyone that my goal is not just to give you tips that you can use in your daily life, but also to give you perspectives and approaches and why, so that you have a deeper understanding of what's going on in your body, and how to stay healthy, so that it all makes sense. Now, my name is John Immel. I'm the director of Joyful Belly Ayurveda, and we're a school of Ayurveda. And what we're talking about tonight is very similar to the kinds of things that we'll talk about in the course, which is tips and health perspectives, and also the why, also what's going on that makes Ayurveda a natural way of healing your body. All right, so we'll get started. What's likely to be imbalanced right now? Well, I think this should feel familiar to many people on the call, that people have been eating rich holiday foods. These foods are very nourishing. They could be decadent desserts, decadent sweets, and people may have even been overeating. You may have been eating on a different time schedule, eating late at night, and enjoying socializing with friends, staying out, not going to sleep on the same time schedule that you normally would. You might be in a totally different climate. Maybe you went to the Bahamas for your Christmas vacation, or points further south, or maybe you're traveled north. With my family, we travel north to New York from North Carolina, and so we're dealing with a different climate, in addition to being off of our normal routine. And all that's fun and all that's wonderful, and we're social human beings, right? We're made for one another, not just to be healthy, but to enjoy life together. And in some sense, our health is there for our enjoyment of life, right? We don't live to be healthy, but we are healthy in order to live. And so that right there is, I'm just going to say right from the beginning that I'm not going to make anyone feel guilty for enjoying time with family and friends, which is just so important for our happiness. And happiness is also healthy. So we'll start there. But all this fun can take a toll on our health. And so the expert Ayurveda practitioner is not necessarily about eating perfectly, but knowing how to eat imperfectly and not suffering so much. Right? That's a better goal, right? The better goal is not that we just have an austere lifestyle, but that we know how to enjoy wonderful moments with friends and family, and then not suffer too much as a result. So that's that's my goal for tonight also, is how to help you celebrate, not to destroy the celebration. And I think Ayurveda, being natural and having a whole perspective on the body, knows how to do that very well. And good practitioners know how to live it up more, not necessarily less. But we have to talk about what's going on and how it affects our body and what's happening to the blood, to our blood plasma. And if you're looking at my screen right now, you'll see that I'm using words like Kapha and Vata in my notes here. These are the names of doshas. Not everyone may know what those terms mean. And I'm going to say, if you see a term and you don't know what it means, don't worry, because we'll explain it and talk about what all of that means. So those who know Ayurveda know that Kapha dosha is likely imbalanced. And what is Kapha? Kapha is the body type that tends to gain weight easily, but also tends to have thick, sluggish blood. And that's actually more to the point. When we talk about Kapha, we're not just talking about weight gain, but we're talking about a different condition in the blood that leads to gaining weight, which is that thickness of the blood. And from that thickness in the blood, you can get a certain sluggishness or stagnation in the whole body, in the blood. The blood's not moving as much, and also in all of the fluids. So you'll see maybe thicker mucus after eating ice cream, or after eating cheesecake, or other heavy kinds of desserts, whether they're fatty or lots of calories in them, carbohydrates, or even sugars. All of those can cause fluids to thicken, including mucus congestion, and also the blood to get a little sluggish. And Kapha people might notice they've put on a little water weight, or they have some water retention after celebrating over the holidays. And what we want to do is get our body back to normal, right? And what else is aggravated in the body? Our Vata is going to be aggravated. What's Vata? Vata is characterized by irregularity in this case, and we're off our routines. Eating at odd times, staying up late, sleeping at odd times, maybe not sleeping well because we are not in our home environment. And so that irregularity can make us feel tired, cause us to be cranky. If we've been drinking alcohol, that could actually also affect our liver and build up some toxicity in the liver and make a person feel a little irritable. And we want to get rid of that. All together, because of the change in routine, eating different foods, eating heavy foods, our body may be more stagnant. We may have built up some toxicity. We may not be eliminating our bowels as efficiently, and so we feel out of sorts, right? We feel not necessarily that we're sick. Some of us may have gotten sick, but you don't have to be sick. You could just feel a little out of sorts, not quite feel yourself, not quite feel as well as you normally do. I'll give you an example. This morning, my daughter, Carmela, woke up and said that she had a ringing in her ear. And that to me is a sign that Vata is aggravated, especially in a younger person. She's a teenager, and she shouldn't be having ringing in the ear at that stage of life. That's more common in a later stage of life. So I know that her system is aggravated, and she might need a bit of a reset. She might need to settle back into our normal routine, and also to eat some different foods over the next few days to kind of clear that imbalance in her body. All right, let's keep talking and set the stage here, and then we'll talk about diet and lifestyle remedies. So what else is happening? This time of year, we're very vulnerable to respiratory infections. We've seen this Omicron variant of coronavirus spread like wildfire through the whole population. You probably know someone in your family or among your friends who's had that in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I know I've seen it both in my family, in my friend group, and in other members of the community, my wife's family as well, 1 or 2 cases here or there. Hopefully this will be the end of it, right? Hopefully people have gotten this less virulent form of coronavirus, and that they're not having to go to the hospital, and that they are not suffering too badly, but building up that natural immunity. Maybe people have gotten vaccinated, and we're fast approaching herd immunity here, and we don't have to, and this pandemic will become a thing of the past. That's my hope, and we'll see if it comes true or not. So, but why are we particularly vulnerable to respiratory infection this time of year? Well, for one, people are indoors and more cooped up, but people are indoors all year. So that's not the whole story. It's part of the story, but not the whole story. Also, cold weather itself creates stagnation in the blood. I've talked just a few minutes ago about how eating rich, heavy foods causes the blood to become thick and stagnant. Well, cold weather causes the heart to beat more slowly, and it also causes our blood vessels to all constrict. So you might notice that your face is more pale in January and more red in June, right? You tend to have a red flushed face in June and a pale face in January. And you might notice that your legs are more dry, that you might need to use some lotion to keep them moisturized. And all of that is because the body is not letting as much blood flow into the skin in order to prevent temperature loss. So to compensate for loss in temperature, your body constricts blood vessels and reduces blood flow to the extremities. That causes more blood flow in certain areas of your body, in your core, but less blood flow in areas that are touching the atmosphere. And that includes the interior of your lungs. So when you take a cold breath in, you're going to have less blood flow to the lungs because of this effect of vasoconstriction. Less blood flow to the lungs, to the respiratory tract, means less immunity in those areas. Where is the immune system in your body? It's in your blood. So if our blood vessels are constricted and the blood's not flowing as well, we're not fighting bacteria or coronaviruses or whatever it is that we're trying to fight as well. So the cold weather makes us more vulnerable to respiratory infections, and then the respiratory tract can become dried out due to indoor heating. So if you're exposed to the cold, that makes you more vulnerable. But if your respiratory tract is drying out because of indoor heating, you're also more vulnerable. It's a bit of a catch-22 there. And one way to help if you have indoor heating is to just get a humidifier right then and there. Right, that's a simple remedy if your system is really dried out. Other reasons why we're more vulnerable to respiratory infections this time of year is traveling. We're coming into contact with people while traveling. That's actually how I contracted coronavirus last July. I got the Delta variant, which is a little more virulent, from traveling in a plane. And I know a lot of people who got the coronavirus from traveling in a plane, and people have been traveling this last week. And also, if you're staying with friends and family, there might be some germ spread, right? And that was probably a little scary for some people to be in groups who are nervous about getting coronavirus or immunocompromised or worried, but it's also, hard and unhealthy to live in a bubble too, right? So people have been making those decisions about whether to spend time with each other or not, depending upon individual circumstances and strength and all of that. So that's been a part of our ongoing situation, right? And another issue this time of year is vitamin D deficiency and the kind of gloominess due to the darkness. In the summer, my daughter and I would go to the park next door where they had a ping pong table, and we'd be playing ping pong after work. And and getting some good sunlight, some good vitamin D, getting outside, getting some exercise. This time of year, by the time the workday ends, it's dark out, right? If you live in the northern part of the country, maybe still a little sunny if you live in the southern parts. But many people are having low vitamin D this time of year, and they might not be getting as much exercise, and the cold might be keeping them indoor. And that hence we get Blue Monday. Have you heard of Blue Monday? Blue Monday is the third Monday in January, when credit card bills are due. The winter is sort of at its coldest point, and also people have been progressively getting lower in vitamin D. The festivities are over. People are a little bit more lonely, and that can be a struggle. So if you're that type of person who gets a little gloomy this time of year, just make sure you're supplementing with vitamin D, and that way you can notice it. I notice it if I'm feeling a little down and I take a normal dose of vitamin D. I feel much better within a few hours, and has a big effect. So remember that and think about that if you're feeling a little emotional, or to just remember that it might be a vitamin D deficiency. And I've already talked about how we're entering into a big seasonal transition. Just before the call started, I mentioned that, and I will say it again, that we're going from temperatures getting colder and colder and colder to a kind of bottoming out, and then it's going to start getting warmer. And that's a big seasonal transition in the body. It's a transition from essentially a buildup of dryness in the body to what we would call in Ayurveda dampness or congestive conditions, or Kapha kinds of conditions as we approach early spring. So by early February, this pattern is going to be in effect. And so get ready for that big switch in your body. It's already happening now. You can probably feel it already, that your appetite is not as strong as it was for Thanksgiving. Typically, people's appetites are not as large over the Christmas, New Year's season as it was in November, because the weather was changing quickly then. And now it's already cold, and our body has built up the fat layer in the skin that we need to protect ourselves from the cold. And it doesn't need to do that anymore. It just needs to maintain it instead of build it. So the appetite starts to wane a little bit this time of year. And then you might have no appetite at all in February. And don't be alarmed by that. Just let nature take its course, and allow yourself to not eat as much if you're not hungry. Instead of wondering like why you can't enjoy food anymore or something like that. It's just a natural waning of the appetite that happens in late winter and early spring. So just you might starting to know some of those patterns. Great. So hopefully some of this is sounding very familiar to you, right? That these are some of the things that you're going through, maybe some constipation from traveling. And like I said, these are the kinds of things that we study at the Joyful Belly School of Ayurveda. Our students in our certification programs and our professional studies programs are learning in a very in-depth way how to assess these kinds of conditions and others, and also how to pinpoint the right recommendations for the right people to help them feel better and enhance their quality of life. I want to mention to everyone who's on this call tonight that I will give you a $1,000 scholarship if you register for the course in the next 3 days. If you kind of like the style of our talking and the kinds of things that we're learning, then come to our school. And I'm also happy to answer any questions that you might have about our school. But I'll give anyone who attended tonight's call, and I will record attendance so that you can just let me know and claim that scholarship for registering. So let me just take a second here, and I will record that attendance for tonight's call in case you want to claim a scholarship. The great thing about health and learning about health is that it's not just for you, right? Every time you learn about health, it is a gift to your community. The friends that you talk to, your family, as you start to become healthier, people start to wonder, wow, what is that person doing? Or you might hear of a tip on tonight's call that you can share with someone who really needs it. And that's the beautiful thing about health, is that it really is about helping people have a better quality of life and sharing that in your community. So it's a beautiful thing that you're here tonight, not just for you, but for everybody. All right, how to rebalance. The first thing is, don't forget to take a retreat in winter. In the deep part of winter, it's a little bit more contemplative. It can be a little more restful. You don't need to push yourself to continue socializing. This time of year, people naturally want to become a little more inward, curl up with your favorite book, watch the Great British Baking Show if it's not too tempting for you, or go to watch some of your favorite movies this time of year. That's part of the winter season. You can begin doing some crafts, studying something, study in a course, but embrace the silence, embrace the stillness of deep winter, and don't push it. Let yourself get back on track. Your body will naturally get back on track if you are treating yourself well, right? If you're just taking it easy, a little bit easy on your body, not pushing too much. We just want to talk about eating, sleeping, and waking on time. Sometimes people have confusion about what it means to have a good routine. And you can get real fancy with this. In an Ayurveda routine, you could literally spend your whole day in an Ayurveda routine. But what's the skeleton Ayurveda routine? A good routine for your body to allow your body to have natural biorhythms is to get up and go to bed at the same time every day and eat your meals at the same time every day. Just that's a very simple thing, because it allows your body to be on a schedule. Your body schedules when to get hungry. Your stomach starts growling at a particular time, and that's when your body has energy to digest your food. And if you're eating outside of those times, your digestion is not going to work as well, and that's going to cause problems for you. I mentioned vitamin D already, or even a trip to the tropics, but I want to also say, take hot baths. It's not the same as a hot shower. A hot shower can't warm up your core. And this time of year, I mentioned that blood gets stagnant, and that hot bath is going to get your circulation up, and it's going to do it throughout your entire body in a very thorough way. Nothing replaces a hot bath, and unless and if you don't have a bath, actually there is one thing that could replace it, which is just wrapping yourself up in a lot of blankets and getting a decent sweat. Okay, so you want to heat up your whole body to the point where you get a little bit of sweat in the armpits, or break out into a little bit of a sweat. And that means that you've flushed your whole body with blood. That's going to make your skin look a little bit more lively this time of year. It's going to help moisturize your skin too. And it will get your immune system everywhere, and so that it can do its job. So I think that's a protective measure. And I just want to give a note of caution around heating up your body, which is once you leave the bath, don't let yourself catch a chill, or once you leave those blankets, don't let yourself catch a chill, especially if you've broken out in a sweat. You want to keep warm clothing on so you don't catch a chill. That's going to undo what all the benefits of the bath if you catch a chill. So don't let yourself get chilled. If you take a hot bath, you can even put a little heater in the opposite corner of the bathroom to make sure the air is nice and hot while you're drying yourself off with your towel. Think about a Kapha massage oil if you're a Kapha person, or a Vata massage oil. I wouldn't do a Pitta massage oil this time of year unless your skin is really flared up. But in the cold weather, usually people don't have strong fiery imbalances. So if you're that sort of Kapha congested type, that you get sluggish in the winter, Kapha massage oil might help you. If you're more of like a Vata dry deficient kind of person, then a Vata massage oil, both of those will fire you up. The Kapha one will really fire you up, and you'll get a lot of heat generated from that and a lot of stimulation. And that'll really wake you up if you get those winter sluggish feelings. All right, so I want to give you one more option here, which is a baking soda ginger bath, which that baking soda and ginger just makes the bath so much more stimulating. So don't do that if you're already like a hyperactive type person who needs to calm down. But if you're a Kapha person that tends to be very sluggish or feel very tired, that baking soda ginger bath is going to be very stimulating. And you can look up on the Joyful Belly website. If you Google those words and the word Joyful Belly, you'll see the formula for that. Make sure you're getting your exercise up. You just need to get a little bit of cardio to move that stagnant blood. Notice I'm not saying here something that's rocket science, right? I'm not giving you even anything that's exotic. But what I am saying is that this time of year, circulation gets very stagnant because of the cold and because of the heavy, rich foods. And so you want to get your heart rate up. You want to open up circulation. And I'm going to show you how to do that with the diet. But in the lifestyle, those hot baths and getting enough exercise each day where you're getting your heart rate up, even if it's just for a short while, makes a huge difference. You don't have to do an hour of exercising. Some simple things that I do is even if I'm talking on the phone with or having a meeting with someone on the Joyful Belly staff, I will pace back and forth and just walk a little bit, keep my body moving all throughout the day. And then I'll go enjoy some time with my children. That keeps me moving. But then you can always just stop what you're doing at any moment and do 30 jumping jacks, and your heart rate will go up, and it'll take you under 2 minutes to do that. So so that's some options for lifestyle, simple things for lifestyle. Keep your routine, get back to that skeleton routine, eating on time, the same time every day, and going to sleep and waking up the same time every day. Then getting that vitamin D, hot bath, and some exercise. That's going to be a big improvement. All right, now let's get to diet, because this is where things can get a little more particular. And so I mentioned about appetite waning already. That's this part here. I've already talked a little bit about that. So what else can we do in the diet? This time of year, we can do a mini cleanse. And I want to talk about how to do that. And first, I'm going to talk about the general diet, and then specific things that will help cleanse your liver, cleanse your and flush your circulatory system, flush your bowels. So we'll talk about those things. First thing is we're going to start transitioning to a little bit more of a lighter diet. As I said, that's already happening in our appetites right now. We want less heavy foods already than Thanksgiving. Typically, most people. So the diet becomes lighter. You can have some Kitchery for a few days. Now, if you don't know what a Kitchery diet is, you can see the spelling on my screen here: Kitchari. And if you go to the Joyful Belly website, you can Google Kitchery recipes, and you will see a whole list of them on the website, and you can pick the one that you think sounds tastiest to you. But what is a Kitchery? A Kitchery is simply rice with some lentils in it, and it's just a very simple meal. It's considered to be a kind of austere food, but it's also very tasty and delicious. I think I enjoy it even when I'm not cleansing. So you can have that. Another option would be sweet potatoes and black beans with a little bit of kale. You can find that recipe on Joyful Belly also. All these recipes you can find on Joyful Belly. But sweet potatoes with kale and black beans is, sweet potatoes are nothing like white potatoes. White potatoes have a high glycemic index and they're a heavy carb. Sweet potatoes are just the opposite. They taste pretty good. They give you lots of belly satisfaction, but they do not have a high glycemic index. They do not have the as many calories in them as white potatoes do. And then the black beans offer plenty of fiber, all the benefits of beans. I mean, beans are wonderful. And kale gives that little bit of bitter, which helps to cleanse the liver. And those bitters this time of year really help to with stagnant liver. And I'm just going to say in general that people start to crave more bitter tastes this time of year, and also more sour taste because of the effect that that has on the liver and flushing out the liver. So think about slight bitters and sour foods, and I'll give some examples of that as we go. A ginger carrot soup, make it nice and spicy. That's going to really help. The fiber in it, the sweetness of the carrot will be nice and satisfying, and the ginger is a cardiac stimulant that will just get your blood flowing, and that'll be awesome for you. Lemon weight loss tea, another great recipe on Joyful Belly. It's a little spicy. It's going to have some cayenne in it. It's going to have some apple cider vinegar. This lemon and spice weight loss tea is great for your whole body. Really, lemons help to moisturize the lungs. So that helps as an expectorant to get out any congestion. It kind of liquefies thick mucus, and it helps if you have a dry cough as well. So in either direction, whether they're too much congestion or not enough, lemon helps with it. Lemon also flushes your liver. How does it do that? By squeezing your gallbladder and stimulating your liver to produce bile. And that directly detoxifies the body. So the spices stimulate the heart and stimulate the dilation of blood vessels, which gets all those toxins circulating. And then the lemon flushes them out. Also, diuretics can flush it out too. If you have water weight, you can always add a little dandelion leaf, which is a strong diuretic, to your food, and it'll flush out some of that water weight. Grapefruit with honey and cardamom. You can even add a little ginger to that. A simple, delicious breakfast. Cardamom is an aromatic herb. Now, I've talked to you about spicy herbs like ginger and cayenne pepper in the lemon weight loss tea. But what about cardamom? Cardamom's not fiery like cayenne is, or ginger or black pepper. It's an aromatic herb, more like mint. And those aromatic herbs really help to open up the lungs, and they break up any mucus congestion. Cardamom, just in general, it also is a good digestive. So this grapefruit with honey and cardamom has the perfect amount of sour, bitter, and sweet to be a very enjoyable and healing food for this time of year. So one that I think is just a really awesome combination. All these are great for this time of year. So if you just did this over the next 3 days, you would be feeling much better. For most people, again, everyone's an individual. In Ayurveda, we believe in the individuality of every client. But for many people, this is all that's needed. You can even do an intermittent fast. Intermittent fasting, if you don't know what that is, it means skipping breakfast, essentially. And if you're a Kapha person that tends towards overweight, it's okay to skip breakfast if you're not hungry. Don't force it if you don't have an appetite. And it's okay to eat a light breakfast as well. But if you're one of the other body types where that tend more towards deficiency, then you want to have that breakfast. It's winter. You don't want your body getting run down because it's too weak because you haven't eaten, right? So it, again, depends on the person. But skipping breakfast the morning after a rich meal can really work wonders to any recovery process. So suppose last night I had cheesecake and banana cream pie, and I'm giving you some of my favorites here. I can't eat them actually because I have some food allergies, but I can dream, right? Um, Pumpkin pie, right? If I had those last night, then I would probably skip breakfast the next morning just to let my body, metabolize all that and burn it off a little bit. And then I'd start at lunch, right? That's okay to do. If you are really sluggish from the holidays, avoiding wheat, dairy, and sugar, those are the three most kapha triggering foods. So you can, look up on Joyful Belly and see all the foods that are kapha pacifying and eat it very perfectly. And that's better, that's good. But at a minimum, just avoiding wheat, dairy, and sugar for 3 days is going to be very supportive to the system. And as we move more towards February, the diet should shift to beans and greens, right? That's my beets, beans, and greens. I'm going to add a little something to my notes here. Beets, bean, and greens are a great February combination. And then I would say plus vinegar. This kind of soup, or even like a borscht, is great for cleansing. Beets are a cholagogue that flush the liver, and beans, all that fiber and astringency of the bean is very supportive. Your greens are going to offer that bitterness that's going to flush your liver, and then the vinegar is going to offer the sourness that flushes the liver. And sour, by the way, also opens up your circulation. It's a little known thing about sours that it causes vasodilation and helps your circulation. So that little bit of vinegar in the soup is going to be exactly counteracting the kinds of imbalances that we see this time of year. Blood stagnation, right, being the sort of main issue. Blood stagnation and buildup of toxicity. So beets, beans, greens, and vinegar, right? You could take black beans, some beets, some kale, a little bit of vinegar, sweeten it up a little bit. You can put a little sugar in it, or maybe a teaspoon or something like that for the whole pot, and that might sweeten up the taste a little bit if you like that, or a little bit of coconut oil, just a bit to make it nice and tasty, but still it'll have the nice healing effects. Put plenty of black pepper in this soup to really fire up your circulation. Black pepper and ginger, for that matter. It will be a delicious winter soup. Plus ginger, plus black peppers, just so you can see it written out on the screen. Switch over to your lighter whole grains this time of year, like millet, quinoa, and amaranth. Even corn is a lighter grain than wheat. It's a little bit more sugary than millet, quinoa, and amaranth, but corn's an intermediate solution. All right, all the spices, I already said, spices fire up your blood, fire up your heart rate, and can be very supportive. So don't be afraid to have your food nice and hot. And that will be helpful for the winter. Fermented foods this time of year also. So hot, spicy foods, ginger tea, even CCFT. Let's see, CCF, let me just spell that out. CCFT is a formula in Ayurveda: cumin, coriander, fennel tea in equal amounts. You can make a tea with it, and it's a diuretic and a nice digestive that's useful for cleansing your body. Fermented foods. This time of year, people start to crave it. One of my favorite foods for this time of year is pickled garlic. And you just take garlic, stick it in some apple cider vinegar. You can add a bunch of spices and other things to it. Let it sit there for 3 days or so until it gets nice and pickled, and then just eat them. That will be very cleansing to your system. Garlic is pungent, spicy, aromatic, and that sourness, again, garlic does a whole host of great things for your body. You can read about it on the Joyful Belly website. I also have a nice recipe on Joyful Belly for fire cider. So check that out too. Also having some of these properties. Your pickled foods, kimchi, get some kimchi, which is a Korean fermented cabbage. It's kind of like the Korean version of sauerkraut, although it's not shredded like sauerkraut usually is. I'm noticing some backlines. I'm just going to mute those lines again. But when we get done, everyone will be able to unmute themselves. And yeah, so pickles, even a little bit of red wine this time of year, or just now I'm not talking even about a whole glass because that can cause more toxicity on the liver, but just almost like a little shot glass of wine or just a little bit of alcohol this time of year is very stimulating for the liver and can flush the liver and also dilate blood vessels. That's another way to get your circulation up. And that's very supportive. Now, the opposite is true in June. In June, I wouldn't touch alcohol in June because the liver is already worn down from the heat and processing so much blood as the blood is moving quickly through the body due to the heat. It wears out the liver, and alcohol just pushes the liver over the edge. So no alcohol in June, but this time of year, a little shot glass of red wine might be an enjoyable and stimulating way to get that circulation up. So there's another option for you. And don't forget your blood building foods. This time of year, blood building foods are great. And we need to keep that heat in the body. So don't be afraid to build your blood with a little bit of red meat or molasses or sesame seeds or any of your iron-rich foods. Molasses for the vegetarians, red meat for the omnivores. All right, so I know if I was doing a cleanse for myself, I would pick a few of these options. Make it simple. You can do a beet, beans, and greens stew with vinegar, ginger, and black pepper. Have that for lunch and dinner. Have your grapefruit with honey and cardamom in the morning. You can do the lemon weight loss tea or the fire cider. Very simple cleanse for you that you can do for a few days, but you can try some of those other options I mentioned also. So let's see, what would be, let's put this together, a mini cleanse. What would it be? You can use that beets, beans, and greens soup. We can do the fire cider or the lemon weight loss tea. I'll put the fire cider here because it's kind of fun. And have a little bit of that 2 or 3 times a day. You can maybe, again, have like a shot glass of it or even just a teaspoon of it because that's pretty intense sort of thing. And for breakfast, grapefruit with honey and cardamom in it would be just a little mini cleanse for 3 days. That can help you out. If you need to move the bowels, I think these foods would move the bowels. But if you need something a little stronger to move the bowels, you can try Triphala if you're a Kapha person or a Pitta person. Kapha being that sort of heavier, sluggish type. Pitta being a little more of a fiery type. But Pitta usually doesn't have constipation. If you have Vata constipation, I'm going to say use Harataki. Now, Harataki may be an herb you've never heard of before, but it's one of the 3 ingredients in Triphala. And it softens the stool and just helps to get things moving again. And don't forget, for constipation, if you're constipated, also the warm water, salt, a little more salt in the food. If you don't struggle with water retention, then a little bit of salt can help soften stools. Spices help soften the stools. And you can do something like soaked chia seeds overnight in a spicy tea or something like that. And that'll provide some bulk for the stool to help move the bowels. All right, great. Those are some basic ideas for this time of year to help you get healthier. Today's program is sponsored by the Mastering Ayurvedic Digestion and nutrition certification course. That's a 500-hour, 1-year program that will be analyzing 30 major digestive tract pathologies that are symbolic for a whole host of different pathologies. And you'll get a very in-depth understanding of how digestion works, how Ayurvedic nutrition works, to help yourself and your family and others to start a clinical practice in that. We also have our 2-year program in clinical Ayurveda studies, the fundamentals of Ayurvedic medicine. It's an in-depth course, like I said, over 2 years, where we teach you from soup to nuts, everything about Ayurveda. Our courses tend to be challenging and in-depth, very clinically oriented programs, so that you have a lot of confidence going out and bringing a very healthy way of living to the public, to help people be happier and make them feel better. And it's a great thing to do. You can't lose by studying Ayurveda. If it only helps you, you've won. If it helps your family, you've won. And if you use it to help people in your community and create a lively career and vocation around it, it's an awesome thing to do. So thank you. I want to thank everybody for taking care of your body, for being interested in health, because, as I said, it's not just disease that's contagious. Health is also contagious. And when you learn ways to help yourself, you're helping the world. And it spreads outward from you to the people that you love and the people in your community. So I just want to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope this has been helpful. And I'm also looking forward to hearing any questions that you have after listening to the program. So please type in your questions in the chat, unmute your line and say your question. I want to remind you all, you can get a $1,000 scholarship for having attended this. That's a little reward for everybody who's been on today's call. So register in the next 3 days to claim that scholarship. And thank you all very much, everyone. Happy holidays. All right. So Heartfulness North is asking if I'm going to send a recording. Yes, I will send a recording. I'll send that out in the newsletter tomorrow. And so you can replay it, hit the pause button, read some of the notes, and get the recipe list and all that. What form of ginger do you use for the recipe? It could be any form, Patty G. It could be the powder. It could be the raw. They have different qualities. I think raw is a little bit more aromatic. The powder is a little bit more fiery. And Jeanette is asking if I can send the notes. I won't send the notes out in Word form, but I will send you the video and you can take a look at them just on the video, and you'll be able to see the screen then, Jeanette. Hopefully you'll be able to see the screen. Should be in the video.
John, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sure.
So I think you were like 1 or 2 pages up and you skipped over. I couldn't quite read it. There was a little bit on
the cautionary note for Vata.
I think so. I sort of missed it, and I don't know.
I skipped over some things that I actually had already talked about, but if you let me know about what it was, then I will.
Well, that we all got. It was towards the bottom of one of the pages. Nope, that I got.
You got all this page? Okay.
I got all of that. That all made sense to me. Oh wait, appetite including, it's at the top of this one. See where it says
oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. I talked about the appetite waning this time of year, and that's why I didn't just repeat myself.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, good. Okay. Good eye.
All right. I just didn't want to miss something, and I'm like, wait a second, I don't think I caught that. All right, very good. Thank you so much, John.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Now, Casey, you wondered, you said I'm plant-based. Does Ayurveda complement this? Absolutely. I think the trend in Ayurveda is toward vegetarian. The ancient texts include lots and lots of meat recipes as well. Ayurveda is by no means exclusively vegetarian at all, but I think most of the practitioners in the country have a little bit more of a vegetarian flavor to it. And so, yeah, I think that you will be in good company if you are plant-based. But I also, again, I think you'll be in good company if you aren't plant-based and you eat meat as well. I think there's Ayurveda has all kinds of tips in both directions there. But yeah, you will have no problem. Now, Mackenzie was asking me to expand on that cautionary note for Vata. Basically, I just wanted to remind everyone, it's winter, right? So you can cleanse in winter if you want. And it's good to do a little bit of cleansing if you've had some heavy foods and if you have built up some toxicity. Cleansing is the perfect thing, right? But we can't live a lifestyle of cleansing all the time in the winter because it is winter. You need to feed your body, right? You don't want to get deficient. I see people in my clinic all the time that have taken these fancy, very strict, hardcore cleanses and hurt their body. And 2 years later, they're still suffering. So don't overdo it with cleansing. That's why I gave you a mini cleanse. And if you're under the direction of a practitioner who isn't too gung-ho, you will benefit greatly from a cleanse, but you don't need to push your body. You don't need to like attack your nature in Ayurveda. Instead, what we do is gentle things, and we do them patiently. We're not trying to build Rome in a day, and so give your body the time and space it needs to heal without pushing it too much, and your cleanse will be very supportive for you instead of hurting your body. And that's just a general rule of thumb. And we all know when we're pushing ourselves too much, right? We all know it. So that's just like use your inner wisdom. Don't forget your inner wisdom when you're healing. Health doesn't just come from a book. It comes from inside, and you following, the best practices, following your instincts, your as you go also. Okay. So don't leave those in the dust. Amira said she has a question. Let's say I'm Pitta aggravated and live in Boston. I then start to have cooling foods. Is it possible to overcool the body? Yeah. So this time of year, if your Pitta is aggravated, you may not need cooling stuff because the weather is very cool. But instead, you might focus on why your body is getting so hot in the first place and addressing the root cause. And this is a perfect time of year to heal Pitta because the cool temperatures are aiding you in that healing process. It's opposing the fieriness of Pitta. So acne, heartburn, and loose stools. Heartburn is going to point towards a weakness in digestion. Maybe there's some inflammation in the digestion. I'm not sure on that. It's very individual. Like I said, I need to do a consultation. Loose stools and acne could point to the liver a bit, but yeah, there may be some inflammation in the intestines. There may be some liver a little aggravated. So instead of making your body cold, what we can choose is soothing things for the digestive tract, and then very gentle liver cleansing might help. Gentle liver cleansing, and even a little bit of liver building. Liver building would be something like coconut oil, which is a nice Pitta pacifying anti-inflammatory food that is very comforting to the liver because it's one of the few fats that actually get metabolized in the liver. So you can think about that, Amira. But again, it's not tailored specifically to you. I know very little about you, but those are just some ideas to ponder, research, check with your doctor or your practitioner, okay? Elena, any advice for those without gallbladder for digestion? Well, pretty much it's, if you don't have a gallbladder to store that bile, generally, Elena, it may be the case that there's still the same underlying pattern that leads to gallbladder stones, which is thickened bile, right? Why would someone get gallstones in the first place if the bile is not thick and congealing in the gallbladder? So now there are some other types, like a kind of black bile type for people who have hemolytic anemias might get a black bile type of gallstone. But that's a little different. But the typical case is congealed thickened fluids, as we were talking about with Kapha. So the advice is generally just the same, is that we want to thin those fluids out. Now, if your lack of gallbladder is causing continuous bile dumping on the upper GI and irritating it and causing loose stools and inflammation, that's a little bit more of a complicated case. And we need to deal with that in just a little bit of a different way. I'm not going to go into that too much, but there's nuances here. But if you're not experiencing lots of diarrhea and soft stools after the removal of the gallbladder, then the simple thing is probably just to keep on thinning those fluids, and that's going to be supportive. Yadira, you talked about hot baths. Is being in a sauna good? Yeah, absolutely. I like the steam saunas. If you're Vata, like I have a little bit of Vata in my constitution. I don't really have much Kapha, so I'm going to go to the steam sauna. And the Kapha people who have a lot of internal moisture are going to go to the dry sauna. Which oil is good for a Kapha and Vata massage? Well, your Kapha massage is typically with mustard oil, or safflower oil is not quite as pungent as mustard oil is, but typically mustard oil. And you can just buy a Kapha massage oil from Muzda Enterprises. That's my favorite Kapha oil, is from Muzda Enterprises. I'm typing it in the chat here. And it just went to one of the people on the call. That's a funny thing about Zoom, is that sometimes it goes to one person only. Okay, there you go. I think I sent it to everyone. But Muzda Enterprises sells a nice Kapha oil, a nice Vata oil. We used them for years when we were selling products on the Joyful Belly website. My wife, who's more Kapha, she put that Kapha oil on once late at night, and she literally didn't sleep the whole night. So it was a very stimulating effect. So I'm going to say, do the Kapha oil in the morning, and you're going to have a very productive day, and you're going to feel that nice stimulation, which she loves. Don't do it at night because it'll keep you up. So Mackenzie, you can get that oil from Muzda Enterprises. How do you pacify a Vata Pitta dosha at this time of year? Well, typically Pitta is not aggravated this time of year, Polly. So you're just basically pacifying Vata. But I would say, don't cool yourself to the point where you're cold. I would say if you are experiencing some Pitta signs, you can experiment with cooling foods, but just don't overdo it. And remember, it's winter. And otherwise, a Vata Pitta pacifying diet. I'm going to tell you, Polly, that the Joyful Belly website is just the best place to get Vata Pitta pacifying recipes, because I'm Vata Pitta and I made most of the recipes. So we have lots of Kapha pacifying, lots of Pitta pacifying, lots of Vata pacifying, but we have even more Vata Pitta pacifying foods, because those are the ones that, a lot of the recipes I made were for me. And so check that out on the website. Does everybody know how to use the Joyful Belly website really effectively? I'm going to just show you a little trick on the Joyful Belly website. You go into diet and recipes, and let's say you're trying to find ingredients or even recipes for your dosha. You can do it for either one. But if I click on food here, one is I can click on food by dosha, but I also have this sort of fancy thing here where I can do it by your biocharacteristic. Now that's the real foundation of Ayurveda, is it's a biocharacteristic theory of medicine. And it really works off of these different patterns in the body: dryness, heat, lightness, whether your fluids are liquefied or whether they're thick and gooey. So we can choose foods that are a little bit lighter this time of year, and then choose things that are spicy, right? Let's say we want to do that. So we choose light effect, and then we can choose pungency. Let's see, do we have any pungent coming up here? Light and, taste. Pungency is a taste. So light and pungent. Well, you're going to get a list of spices, right? So that's a simple example, but it'll create an advanced filter. Look at the celery root. Celery root is one of my favorite foods. I just saw it. on here. Celery root. There's celery root. Celery root's one of my favorite foods for this time of year because it flushes out excess water weight. It's a diuretic, opens up the blood vessels, and it's very light. So think about celery root. But look what we can do here. So we've got pungent taste and light effect, and we could keep going, adding more effects, sour taste, that kind of thing. And you can also just switch over to recipes and look at pungent, light recipes. Look, sweet potato with kale and ginger, mung dal kitchery, asparagus saffron risotto with lemon, quinoa with mint, cilantro, and red onion, right? So you can find all of these highly filtered specific recipes for the season for you just by playing around with that feature on the Joyful Belly website. Let's get back to your questions. All right. Oh, I see somebody putting a sesame skincare thing regarding sesame oil. Yeah, sesame oil is a kind of tridoshic tridoshic massage oil for this time of year. It's not too hot for Pitta, for most Pitta people in the winter. Now, if you are getting skin rashes or your skin runs very hot, then you can't do sesame oil. You could do sunflower oil, maybe. Sunflower is a neutral temperature oil. Coconut oil massage is cold, and that could make you too cold this time of year. Lori's asking for special foods to enhance the pancreas. Lori, I had pancreatic insufficiency when I had, before I started Ayurveda, I was very sick from living overseas. I was doing a public health project in Bangladesh, and I lived there for a year. And being a foodie, I ate all the street food, and I paid the price for that. It was delicious, but it was like a star that burns too brightly, right? So I hurt myself, and I had parasites, and I got pancreatic insufficiency, and that's when I got all those food allergies. And, it took a toll on my body and my health, but I used Ayurveda to heal myself. And these aromatic herbs are good digestives, and you need to eat easy to digest foods. That's one of the categories, one of the biocharacteristics on the Joyful Belly website you can search on is easy to digest foods. And also making sure you're hydrated, really big, important food for pancreatic insufficiency. And that can help. I'm not going to say that you're going to be able to get off the enzymes. I don't know how severe your condition is, but for me it helped. And once I got rid of those parasites, my pancreas came back online. Now I probably don't have the pancreas of a newborn, but I do. But I get by, and I'm a healthy person. So think about that. Christy Moon is asking about a digestive tip, but I've started chewing my food. Ayurveda is so simple sometimes, and it's a lot of there's many profound things in Ayurveda, and I could talk for hours about any of those biocharacteristics that I mentioned, but it's also Ayurveda is very simple, and chewing your food well just means you're enjoying it more. The thing is, when you get a food you really love, what do people do? They eat it really quickly. Well, that's just less enjoyment of the things you love, right? If something you love, slow down, enjoy it. And you know what? That's going to improve your digestion. It's going to improve portion control. It's going to improve flavor. It's going to make your digestion work better. It's going to be all the difference in the world. So don't overlook the tremendous impact that chewing your food can have on your long-term health and just making things easy on your body. All right, Anna, I do give personal consultations. I'll tell you, I usually reserve my time for the students in my course. But if somebody has a condition where they, are really needing help, I will give a personal session to folks. If people are interested in the school, I'll often do a private session with them, but most of my consultations are with my students and my students' clients, just so I can really focus on their growth. So please, if you do, don't hesitate. If you need a consultation, Anna, I'll be there. And I'll just tell you, email study@joyfulbelly.com, and they will tell you how to get to the portion of the website where you can sign up for a consultation, because I don't even make it available on the website, but I will make it available to you if you need it. So please take advantage of that. Okay. Marilyn, what advice do you have for those of us who live in Southern Florida with 78 to 80 degrees every day? What advice? I would say let some of us poor Northern folks come and visit. So Marilyn, yeah, if you have those high temperatures and you're never getting that relief from the heat, well, that's pretty much India, right? So Ayurveda does do well in that kind of environment. But if you're constantly having heat, then and if it's wearing down your liver, you might need to support your liver, not cleanse it, but support it. You may need to, it really depends on what doshas you are. If you talked about some of the symptoms you're having, Marilyn, in the call, I might be able to speak a little bit more specifically. So if you just chat that in, I'll come back to that question, okay? Nausea oils, Christy, great in this time of year to keep those nasal passages moisturized. Amuzda does have a bunch of them. You can just get a general nausea oil. They're wonderful, and I really think they keep the upper respiratory tract lubricated and flushed. So neti pot too. Yeah. Thyroid. If you have thyroid issues, Linda, I have a whole presentation on the Joyful Belly website that you can purchase on hypothyroid. And what do you mean? You said you only have one thyroid? Okay, yeah. So you have half of the thyroid. Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. You have one half, and the other half has maybe been removed, and you're on thyroid meds. I think that thyroid and general hormone balances are another area where Ayurveda has lots of natural things to offer. And I'm just going to say for thyroid, if you're the Kapha type and you are running sluggish, keeping that blood thin and keeping your circulation up is going to give your body a lot more energy because you're not going to be struggling against sluggish blood all day. General recommendations for Lyme disease are to nurture your liver. That would be the first place I would go to for that, is nurturing the liver. Vata and Pitta pacifying. If you have a Kapha body, you'll need some nuances for that. But for Lyme disease generally, is you're going to be nurturing your liver. You're a Vata, but you don't enjoy heat every day. Well, Marilyn, then I would need to, we would need to figure out, wonder why that's the case, because Vata people love heat. So there's something else going on. It's more than Vata if the heat is not enjoyable to you. And we've got to try to figure that out. So that I will be putting on my detective cap to try to figure that out. But just in general, if you're a Vata and you're hot, then you're probably Vata Pitta with some Pitta imbalance. And in that case, I would nurture the liver with things like coconut oil, but also mildly cleanse it with things like applesauce and kale and things like that, just so that you're kind of managing Pitta at the root. Yeah, Amira, cleansing is always depletes. We have to remember, cleansing depletes and nourishing builds. So coconut oil, chicken livers, sweet, sour, cooling. I'll type it in. Sweet, sour, mild bitter. I mean, very mild bitter. And the foods with beta carotene, your purple, blue, orange, yellow foods. and oily and cool, right? Those are all qualities that nurture the liver, and sour and bitter cleanse the liver as well. But sour is much more gentle than bitter. Cleansing is more like bitter and strong sours, like vinegar, and strong cholagogues like aloe vera. Those are going to have a more cleansing act. So you see in one, sweet and oily and is nourishing, and then the sours are more gently cleansing, and then the stronger cleansing is those stronger bitters. So hopefully that helps. Mackenzie, decreased energy levels for Vata dosha and lack of a menstrual cycle. If you're Vata and you're not menopausal, but you don't have a menstrual cycle, it's going to be building up, right? It's going to be eating, building up your body, getting the fats in your diet, getting calories in your diet. That would be the general idea. And so then I would be asking, well, okay, why is your body feeling so deficient that it's not producing a menstrual cycle, that it feels like it can't give up that blood? And how do we nurture it back to a place of greater confidence, so your body feels like it has that extra blood to spare? Great questions, everybody. You've been a great group. I really appreciate all of these questions that you've asked. You know, I've given just little tidbits on each of the questions, not knowing, more about your doshas, but giving a general, broader brushstroke. And hopefully that helps you. Hopefully that creates a signpost and points you in a decent direction. And if with private personal time together, or if you're in our courses, one of the things we do in our courses is the students are also the clients. And so we get the whole class analyzing your case. And so if you feel, not too shy to have a whole classroom of smart people, talk about your imbalances, you can learn great things. Our students really have a lot to offer. Often the students are just as just as exciting to hear some of their ideas as the teachers, because the student body is very very engaged student body. So anyway, I do love all the questions that you've asked and your enthusiasm, and let me know how else I can help. If you have any questions, even about the course, you can ask them as well, and while I'm here. And otherwise, then we can get back to your evening and get back to your healthy, getting back on that healthy routine after the new year. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and we'll talk again soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you all so much.